When we first learn techniques, what we think is that we learn it once and that's the way we have to do it ongoingly. But that's not how technique works. When we learn our skills in the gym, it's more like planting a seed, watering it, giving it sunlight, moving it into the shade, moving it into the warmth, and nurturing that seed until it grows into a tree. And once it is a tree, we have to trim it, we have to maintain it, and we have to let it grow in the direction that we want it to. Now, I'll get away from the analogies. What happens when we learn a lift, especially one of our more complex ones? And by more complex, I mean something like the deadlift, the clean and jerk, the squat, the bench press. These movements fundamentally change the way that seed grows into a small tree and then a large tree. As the weights get heavier, the balance changes, the technique requirements change, the relative load. What I mean by that is, relatively, when you first start bench pressing, for example, the weight on the forearms is relatively low. But as you get stronger, the weight on the forearms will increase linearly. That doesn't mean your forearm strength increases at the same rate as your pec muscles. So, strategies must change, movements must evolve, and they must evolve given how heavy the weight is that you're actually lifting. How? There is something else that is going to heavily contribute to the trimming of those leads session to session, and that is going to be your readiness. Certain sessions you're going to come in and your mobility is going to be good. That depends on the daily tasks, that depends on your nutrition, that depends on your sleep. But you are not always in the same readiness state. Each session you come in, you're going to be in a different level of readiness to perform those tasks. And so each session, there might be a little bit of adjustments that you need to make that session productive and to be able to load those movements sufficiently. So, in summary, you never really stop learning technique. What I tend to find with my lifters is that initially, session to session, we're giving them cues, feedback, and making small adjustments. But as the athlete becomes more mature and they've trained for longer and their technique becomes more stable, we're still adjusting, but smaller adjustments. And the technique changes we're making take a longer time to implement. Sometimes they take 8 weeks. Sometimes they take 6 months. And each of those strategies will require very different looks. We don't just learn technique. We learn an initial technique. There is no right or wrong. There is just a technique that we continue to trim and grow and nurture. And your tree, your technique, is going to look a little bit different from everyone else's. Keep working on it, and it will grow hopefully big and strong.